Hello, how you doing? Today we're going to learn about reflections. A reflection flips each point of a figure over an axis. So remember our axis is we have an x-axis, which is our horizontal axis, and we also have a y-axis, which is our vertical axis. So remember, if it says flip over the x, you're reflecting over the horizontal axis. If it says reflect over the y-axis, you're reflecting over the vertical axis. When you are reflecting, make sure you read what it says. So it says reflect over the x-axis. So I know that's my horizontal axis. I like to highlight it so I know which one I'm reflecting over. So that's my x-axis right there in yellow. So once I reflect, it's pretty easy. All we do is we start at one of our points. So I'm going to start at point R, and I just count how many away it is from the x-axis. So I see that's only one spot away. So that means I'm going to move one spot away from the x-axis the opposite direction. And that's going to be my new point. That's going to be point R prime. And I can do the same thing for T. I see T is one spot away from that x-axis. So I'm going to move that same distance the other way, and that's going to be my new point for T. And that's going to be T prime. And then I can do the same for S. S I see is 1, 2, 3, 4 away. So 1, 2, 3, 4 away. And that is going to be S prime. Once I have my points, I can connect my dots and make my new shape, our new reflected shape. So I connect all my dots, and then I successfully reflected this triangle over the x-axis. So what you see here is how a rule. See how that y is capitalized? Because when we reflect over the x-axis, what we're doing is we're changing our y value. My x value didn't move. My x did not move left or right. Like this r is still at -4, so my x stayed the same. But what did change is my y value. My r was up here and it flipped down here. So it was at 1, now it's at -1. So what happens to the y is it changes its sign. So if it was positive, it becomes negative. If it was negative, it becomes positive. In example 2, it says reflect over the y-axis. So on this one, I would reflect over the y. I'm going to draw a line so I know that that's my y-axis. It's that green line, the vertical axis. So this I would do the exact same way when I reflected over the y, but now I'm counting to see how many spots it is away from the y. So W here is 1, 2 spots away. So I can do 1, 2 spots away the opposite way, and that would become my new W prime. I can do the same thing for Z. I see Z is 1, 2, 3, 4 away. So I can go 1, 2, 3, 4. And that would make Z prime. And I can keep going on and on for my other 2 points. So my X is 1, 2 away from that Y axis. So I go 1, 2, and right here would be X prime. And then I see I have a Y there. Let me change colors. Y is 1, 2 away. So I'm going to go 1, 2 away here, and that's going to be my new Y prime. So I flipped it over the Y axis. Once I get my points, I can connect my points and make my new shape. As you can see, it's a mirror image. The point of the triangle part over here was here. Now it's flipped over here. So what happened with this is my y value stayed the same. It didn't move up or down, but instead moved left or right. So what happened was my x value changed. So where my x value was positive, it became negative, and when my x value was negative, it became positive. A reflection flips an image over an axis. The reflected figure is congruent. Congruent means the same. It's the same shape and the same size. The only difference is that it's a mirror image of the original figure. Kind of like when you look into a mirror, it's the same, it looks the exact same shape and size, but your image is flipped. When you raise your right hand in the mirror, it looks like you're raising your left hand. So the rule is when you reflect over the x-axis, the y value changes. If it's positive, it becomes negative. If it's negative, it becomes positive. When you reflect over the y-axis, your x value changes. If it's positive, it becomes negative. If it's negative, it becomes positive. Example, graph the reflection of the triangle over the x and y axis. Number 1, reflect over the y-axis. So I know the y-axis is my vertical axis. So I'm going to highlight that so I know which one I'm flipping over. So I'm flipping this shape over this y-axis, that yellow line. And the way I can do that is just how I did in that first example, is I can count how many spots away each point is from that y-axis. So I see A is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away from the y. So I want to go 5 away the opposite way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's going to be my new point for A, or A prime. I can do the same for B. B is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away. So I'm going to go 5 the way the opposite way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that would be point B prime. B prime. C, I can see, is 1, 2 away. So I can go 1, 2, and that would be my new point, and that would be C prime. And then once I get my points, I can connect my dots, and I can get my new image. And we can see we've reflected this image over the y-axis. It's a mirror image of each other. The rule, remember, my x value changed when I flipped it over the y-axis. My y value stayed the same, so my y value for each is still going to be the same. It didn't move up or down, it just got moved over to the right. It got reflected over that y-axis. So my x value changes. Like for A, it was at -5, but now I moved it over here, which is at +5. B, the same thing. It was at -5, now it's at +5. C was at -2, now it's at +2. For example 2, it says reflect over the x-axis. So the x-axis is the horizontal axis. I'm going to highlight it here in purple. So I'm trying to figure out what this starting image up here is, flipped over that x-axis. So my pre-image is the exact same points. -5, 5 for A, -5, 1 for B, and -2, 1 for C. And now I want to reflect it over that x-axis. So I can see B here is 1 away from the x-axis. There's 1 spot away. So I can go 1 spot away down, and that's my new point for point B. And that would be -5, -1. My y value changed because it's no longer up here on the top half of the quadrant, it's in the bottom half. So my y value moved down 2 spots. So instead of positive, it becomes negative. So my x value stays the same for all these. So A would be -5, but now my y value is going to become negative. Be -5, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. And that would be A prime, and this was B prime. And C would be the same thing. My x value would stay the same. My y value is now going to switch. It's going to become negative because it's 1 spot away. So 1 spot away down here will give me C prime. And then once I get my points, I can connect my dots and make my image. And you can see it's a mirror image of this shape up here, reflected over the x-axis. In this example, it says reflect the figure over the y-axis. So I'm going to highlight that y-axis again because that's the one I know I'm going to flip over. That up and down axis. The vertical axis is our y-axis. So I can see how far away each point is. So right here would be point A, and I see it's 1 spot away from the y, so I'm going to go 1 spot away from the y this way. This would be A prime. And then I see here is point B. So B is 1 spot away, so I go 1 spot away this way, and that would be B prime. Here I have a point, and that is point, we'll say point C, and that is 1, 2, 3 away. So 1, 2, 3 away. And that would be C prime. Here I have another point, which is D, and I can see that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away. And that would be D prime. And I have another point up here, which would be E. In E, I can see is the same distance as D, so I know it's 5 away, so I can put it right up here in line with D, and that would be E prime. Also, on this example, we have a dot right here that we could use, our insert. So that is 1, 2, 3 away, so I would go 1, 2, 3 away, and I have all of my points. Once I have all my points, I can connect my dots and make my new shape. It's hard to see in that yellow. So let's see here. If I connect my dots, I can see that this new shape is a mirror image of that shape reflected over the y-axis. In example 2, it says reflect this figure over the x-axis. So I know my x-axis is this horizontal axis. I'm going to highlight it in green. I can see that's my x-axis, my horizontal axis. So now I can count how many spots away each point is. So D right here I can see is 1, 2 spots away from the x-axis. So I want to go 2 spots away, 1, 2 from the x-axis in the opposite direction. And that would be my new point, which is D prime. I can do the same for C. 1, 2 away, 1, 2. And that would make it C prime. B, I see B here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 away from the x-axis. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that would be my B prime. A, I see, is even with B, so I also know that it's 6 away. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that is my new point, A prime. A prime. Once I get my dots, I connect my points, and there's my new shape. I can see it's a mirror image of this shape up here above, flipped over the x-axis. That is reflection. So reflection, we're flipping an image over an x or y axis. On the next page of your notes, there are 4 examples for you to choose from. I want you to choose any 2 to complete. When you are done, show myself or Miss Pink. When you finish with that, complete the Desmos activity that is on Google Classroom. After you're done with the Desmos activity, finish one more assignment and turn in to be graded. There's a worksheet, a quizzes game that's online, or a translate and reflection map where it has a map of the United States and you reflect it into being different states. So complete those activities, turn them in, and have a great day.